Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Welcome to today's live unboxing video, well, it's live for me anyway, of the brand new Christopher Ward Sealander C63. The range of Sealanders, have only been on the market for a couple of weeks now, so I'm delighted to be able to get my mitts on one nice and early for a change. I got a message from my good friend Mr. P last week saying he had ordered one. He has 400 watches in his collection. I guess he now has 401 watches in his collection, but could I do it quickly because he's desperate to get it on wrist. So not a full review today, it will be an unboxing and initial impressions, but I will pop it on the time grapher and do a lume video and some macro we can get up close and personal with the dial. Now I like Christopher Ward watches. I've only reviewed two on the channel so far anyway. C60 Trident Pro in 2019 and the C65 GMT World Timer last year. C60 Trident Pro was very, very impressive. Definitely one of the best put together, best manufactured, best built watches that I've looked at, full stop. Great value as well. It snuck into my top 15 ultimate value list that I made mid last year. One thing that I know put a lot of people off the brand, however, was that rather odd asymmetric logo placement at 9 o'clock. Now, maybe it's coincidence, maybe it isn't. Mr. Ward left the company last year, selling out to the other two gentlemen he had been partners with. I think every watch since then has had the logo at the 12 o'clock. Coincidence? Perhaps, but I reckon it'll open up a whole new market for people who were just put off by that funny 9 o'clock logo. Leave me a comment, let me know what you think. Was the 9 o'clock logo a deal killer for you, or are you still not comfortable with that whole other man's name on your wrist thing? I don't quite understand that myself. Now, my cheeky thumbnail today, Christopher Ward Goes Exploring. I think this could be described, certainly some of the other models in the range, as a homage to the Rolex Explorer 2. A homage in the most literal sense, not the photocopier sense, but something that takes some styling cues and intention and tries to replicate it. Certainly the GMT models, the white dial and the black dial, bear more than a passing resemblance to the Rolex Explorer 2 white dial and black dial, but they're not the only brand Christopher Ward to have been having a sneak at Rolex's homework recently. There were two Grand Seiko quartz models from a couple of years ago that also, I think, owed quite a bit to the Explorer 2. This one is not a GMT model, it's a fixed bezel 39 black dial. I think it's homaging the Rolex Explorer 1, certainly in intent anyway. A kind of go anywhere, do anything black dial tool watch with a fixed bezel. Enough waffle, let's open the box. My God, does that guy never shut up. Anyway, I have covered up Mr. P's name and address here, so I'm not doxing him in front of several thousand people. I will give Christopher Ward credit for their packaging. This is the third one that I've unboxed, and if the last two are anything to go by, all of this is going to be paper, cardboard, all entirely biodegradable, no plastic. Perhaps there won't be too many stickers for us to peel off as a consequence, but good on them. Sometimes I feel like a one-man environmental wrecking ball. I get sent so much plastic, so much bubble wrap. Not great for the environment. Very nice as well though. Big wooden box here with a kind of leatherette cover. Perhaps it is real leather, who knows? What have we got inside the box? Let's see if I can get the top off. There it is, live unboxing. Like I said, it doesn't always go to plan. Now this one, yeah, this is the warranty. I will cover up Mr. P's name there. 60/60 warranty, so 60 days to return the watch if it is not to your satisfaction, and a 60-month, 5-year warranty on the movement. I guess the movement is the one thing you really want to warrant in a watch. Not sure what happens though if you crack a crystal or the crown falls out. I'm sure they would look after you. Big company, well-established company. Owner's handbook, we will have a quick look at that, although it's a watch, it's a 3-hand plus date. How hard can it be, really? And inside this one, there is the Sealander 63. I really want to say AMG 63 every time I say C63, but I have avoided it so far. Let's get a zoom in. There is a little bit of plastic for us, which is a bit of a relief. Now, I think Mr. P paid just under 1,000 Aussie dollars for this. They are about 575 quid for this model, I think. So what's that? About 700, low to mid 700 USD. I think Christopher Ward are really, really strong in that 750 to 1,500 USD price bracket. I think you get more for your money and you get a better made watch, crucially, for your money than you do with a Longines or another entry-level Swiss brand. I guess these are Swiss made, but it's very much still a British brand according to a number of their model references, the Land Rovers on the website, and who they choose to sponsor. Okay, let's peel off the stickers. the big dial cover then. There we go, that's the main one. Yeah, quite a nice simple design. I think that case is, if not identical, very, very similar to the Trident Pro that I looked at a couple of years ago. Really nice case. I'll get some zoom in on this in just a minute or two. A few more stickers for us though. One covering the clasp. Satisfying. And I'll just pop that tag off. That should come out if I give it a gentle tug. Maybe a not quite so gentle tug. Whoop, there we go. I'll pop that to one side. And there is the Christopher Ward C63 Sealander black dial. It looks pretty good so far. Couple more stickers that I missed on the clasp. I will leave them to Mr. P though. He can have that satisfaction. I will allow him that satisfaction. So 39mm in diameter, 11.5mm thick, 45.5 lug to lug. So a really nice compact set of dimensions. 20mm lugs as you would expect from a watch this size, tapering down to 17.5, back up to 19.5 at the clasp. Now, unsized, I am going to leave Mr. P the pleasure of that. Apart from anything else, I think it's a pin and collar system, so over to you, Mr. P. This one unsized weighs in at 154 grams. I reckon for my 7-inch wrist, I'll need to take off 2 links. That would take it down to about 145 grams. So great set of dimensions overall, right on that 150 gram stainless steel sports watch sweet spot. All stainless construction, sapphire crystal with a bevel edge and anti-reflective undercoating, screw down crown, 150 meters of water resistance, I believe, which is slightly unusual. It's advertised there on the dial. Little red touch on the dial, little red touch on the second hand, little red touches around the edges there at the 5-minute marker. I will get some macro of that. It looks really good. Now, bracelet is all stainless steel, 3-link oyster. I believe those are push pins. There's no arrows and there's no screw heads, which leads me to conclude that they are push pins, and it has the same fantastic clasp as featured on the Trident Pro, that being an adjustable on the fly. That is great. And one thing I complained about on the Trident Pro review, they didn't include any half links, so it was hard to take full advantage of that adjustability. Here, there's a half link on either side, so no excuses for not getting a great fit with this. With this adjustability, you really want it set kind of in the middle when you leave the house in the morning. If it gets cold, you can shrink it a bit. If it gets warm, you can expand it a bit. So the half links really will allow you to get that ideal fit. And the case finishing is superb. I have heard this referred to as their light catcher case because of the mix of brushed and polished surfaces. I don't think this one plays with the light as much as the C60 did. You know, it had a ceramic bezel when it was a really bright, shiny ceramic bezel. This one takes it down a touch because it's a fixed bezel. But having said that, you do have brush, polish, brush. Back to brush, then polish, then brush. A really, really lovely effect. And it's got that undercut to the case as well. That means it's got a nice smooth surface which rests on your wrist, and also it gives the impression of a smaller watch on your wrist as well. So it should be even more comfortable. Screw down crown with the Christopher Ward logo there, and 150 meters of water resistance as mentioned. Now, bracelet, you do have that protruding mid link of the end link. So even though it's a 46, 45 and a half, it is going to wear slightly bigger than that because it's got that Rolex style protruding first link. Another nice touch for the money, quick release bracelet end links, which means I can show you some nice macro footage of the movement. Now, according to the Christopher Ward website, this is the elaborate grade version. So the one off the bottom, one off the base model of the Sellita SW200-1. You can just about see some decoration on some of the plates and also decoration on that custom rotor. Now, 600 quid, $750 for an elaborate grade SW200 is not bad at all. Oris charge far, far more than that for the base model with their big red rotor in the Aquis and the Divers 65 models. So the SW200 is a 26 jewel clone of the ETA 2824, kind of entry level. Those two and the STP 111 you'll find in most of the entry level Swiss stuff, out with the Swatch Group anyway. Hacking and hand winding, bi-directional winding, and a stated power reserve of 38 hours, though you usually get a couple more than that. However, the elaborate grade version of the SW200 should have been adjusted to 3 positions from their factory, plus or minus 7 seconds per day, with a maximum variance of plus or minus 20 seconds per day. This one, that's not the finest chart that I have seen. It looks like it's a little bit all over the place, kind of bouncing around, -8, -0, -3, -12, -14. I'll give this one back to Mr. P. He can wear it in. It is box fresh, but really it should have been worn in at the factory. Maybe I'll borrow it again, or I'll loan him my time grapher in a month's time so we can just check how this one has been getting on. It is a great looking dial and handset though, a really rich deep black lacquer dial. Christopher Ward brand name, now under the double baton at 12. Single batons everywhere else and a half baton at 6. Nicely integrated date complication down there with a colour matched date wheel. Lovely indexes as well here. Brush finish on top with a high polished slanted edge slanted down towards the pinion. You've got that printed minute track around the outer edge with 5-minute markers in Arabics and that little red dot that I pointed out earlier on, matching the 150 metre 500 feet script underneath automatic above the date frame and that tip of the second hand. Now the second hand has the classic Trident signature counterbalance, and it's a pretty Christopher Ward typical hour and minute hand as well. Large arrowhead hour hand and a slender minute hand, both of those nicely beveled, again with brushed surfaces on the upper edge and high polished outer edges. Loom. BGW9 and plenty of it. I don't think anyone is going to get this wrong in the middle of the night thanks to that big double baton at 12 and a half baton at 6. It's fairly easy to discern which way up the watch should be read. Now there's no loom on the second hand here. You only have loomed hour and minute hands. I guess it's not a diver, you're not timing anything particular, and they've chosen to put that Trident counterbalance on it instead. On wrist, definitely a bit of a looker. I do really appreciate just those little red touches softening the whole thing up. Otherwise it might have looked a bit austere. Sits nice and flat, nice and flush with that undercut light catcher case. Now I have not sized this one up, so it is a bit loose. 39, so just under 40. This is a kind of good size for me. When Rolex themselves are relaunching a 36mm Explorer, you know that we're trending downwards in terms of watch diameters once more. I think this one will find friends and find favours. And it's all nicely legible and nicely in proportion, this one. Yeah, so on initial impressions, at least it certainly looks like another high quality and good value offering from Christopher Ward. Look at that double high polished line, the high polished line on the bezel and the high polished line on the case there. That is very, very pretty indeed. What am I going to complain about though, having just unboxed this thing half an hour ago? Well, an inverted mid-link of the end-link would have made it sit better on people with rather small wrists, and an applied logo. That Christopher Ward logo there in brushed or high polished, I think that might have just taken it to the next level, but I guess budget constraints. Does look like there's some anti-reflective coating, but if that had been domed rather than flat, again, that would have taken it to the next level. But overall, it looks good. The bracelet's nicely made. That adjustable clasp there is a real bonus and a bit of a rarity on a watch for under $1,000. I'm sure Mr. P is going to enjoy this one. He bought himself a Grand Seiko a couple of months ago, which has been getting the vast majority of the wrist time. I reckon this one could soon be vying for a spot on his arm. I would love to see what he thinks, comparing the quality of the case finishing here with the quality of the case finishing on his Grand Seiko that cost him, I think, 4 times as much. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all in a future video.